The lobby of the Seaside Crest Resort gleamed with polished marble floors, towering glass windows, and the warm smell of lemongrass drifting through the air. Guests milled around with rolling suitcases and sunglasses perched on their heads, buzzing with the anticipation of a weekend escape. At the front desk stood Cameron Reed, a black man in his mid-30s, dressed in a tailored charcoal travel jacket and clean white shirt. He moved with a calm confidence, the kind of quiet ease that suggested he was used to airports, hotels, and boardrooms. He set his leather duffel bag gently at his feet and smiled as he stepped up to the counter. Behind the desk was Nathan, a concierge in a sleek navy vest, posture tall and expression polished, though something flickered behind his professional smile when he saw Cameron. His gaze dipped, first to Cameron's shoes, then his jacket, then the logo on his luggage tag. Recognition didn't come. Assumption did. "Good afternoon," Nathan said, his tone courteous but thin. "How may I help you today?" "I have a reservation under Reed," Cameron replied, sliding his ID across the counter. Nathan's fingers froze just slightly on the ID. Then he forced another smile. "Certainly. One moment." He typed slowly, too slowly, as if hoping the computer might tell him something different. His eyes scanned the screen, then narrowed. "I'm not finding a reservation under this name," he announced with that same rehearsed sympathy employees use when they believe they already know the ending. "Are you sure you're at the right hotel?" Cameron remained polite. "Yes. It should be under Presidential Suite. Check-in today." Nathan's brows shot up before he could stop them. "That suite costs more per night than some people made in a month." "Right," he said, his voice shifting. "That suite is usually reserved for VIP guests, so maybe the reservation was misquoted to you? We've had confusion before." His smile was tight now. "But we do have standard rooms available, though they are quite limited this time of day." Cameron's expression didn't change. He didn't bristle. He didn't raise his voice. He just said calmly, "No, I won't be needing a standard room. The reservation was arranged weeks ago." Nathan exhaled through his nose, annoyed now, but still pretending politeness. "Sir, I'll need to ask you to step aside while I assist the next guest. Perhaps you can contact whoever made the booking. Miscommunications happen." A couple nearby glanced over, not because Cameron was causing a scene, but because the tone had shifted. People could feel disrespect even when it arrived dressed in smiles. Before Cameron could reply, a voice called from across the lobby, excited and breathless. "Mr. Reed!" Nathan's head snapped up. The resort's general manager, a sharply dressed woman named Elena Torres, hurried over. Her eyes lit up like she had just spotted a celebrity. She extended both hands warmly. "We've been expecting you. I hope your flight was smooth. Everything is prepared for your stay." Nathan's expression cracked. Elena turned to him. "Nathan, this is Mr. Cameron Reed, the primary contact for the acquisition discussions." She lowered her voice just enough for the words to carry. "The hotel group, Mr. Reed represents, is finalizing the purchase of the entire Seaside Crest resort chain." The air itself seemed to stop. Cameron watched Nathan quietly. No triumph in his eyes, no gloating, just that same steady calm. Nathan's face drained of color, his jaw tight, throat working to form words. "Mr. Reed, I didn't realize—" "You didn't need to," Cameron said gently. "To treat a guest with respect." The words weren't sharp, but they landed with the weight of truth. Elena gestured with a warm smile. "Mr. Reed, please allow me to personally escort you to the suite." Cameron picked up his bag. "Thank you." As he walked past the front desk, the only sound was the soft roll of his luggage wheels and the quiet lesson left behind. Some people earned respect, some people demanded it, and some simply carried it with them, no matter where they stood. And soon, he wouldn't just be a guest. He would be the one signing Nathan's paycheck. Word spread fast, the way sparks race across dry grass. By evening, the entire staff had heard that the polite, soft-spoken man Nathan dismissed at the desk wasn't just a wealthy traveler. He was the representative of the group buying the entire resort chain. Conversations whispered in the employee lounge, murmured in hallways, carried in the subtle glances thrown toward the presidential suite elevator. Nathan felt each whisper. His steps grew smaller, shoulders tighter, polite smile now brittle like porcelain. He replayed the moment at the desk again and again. The assumptions he made, the tone he used, the way he dismissed Cameron like an inconvenience instead of a guest. Every time, the memory cut sharper. Meanwhile, Cameron settled into the suite with the same composed grace he carried in the lobby. The room was extravagant. Two-story windows overlooking the ocean, a private terrace, a marble bathroom designed for quiet luxury. But Cameron barely looked at any of it. He sat down at a sleek glass table, opened his laptop, and began reviewing hotel staff evaluations and operational reports. Numbers told one story, but behavior told the truth. The next morning, Cameron stepped into the lobby. Not in a tailored blazer, not in a suit, but in a simple pressed shirt with his sleeves rolled. He didn't need to dress to establish authority. He was the authority. Elena, the general manager, met him there, tablet in hand. "We're prepared for your walkthrough. I've notified department heads." Cameron nodded. "Thank you, Elena. But today I'd like to observe before we talk with management. No announcements, no warnings, just normal operations." Elena understood immediately. Authenticity mattered. They began in the cafe. Staff greeted guests warmly, refilled drinks quickly, kept the counters spotless. A few faces were bright, genuinely enjoying their work. A few others were strained, going through motions. Cameron took quiet notes, his eyes watchful but never harsh. Then came the front desk. Nathan stood there, posture more formal than usual, smile tight enough to shake. The moment he saw Cameron, his breath hitched. "Good morning, Mr. Reed," he said quickly, almost stumbling over the words. "Good morning, Nathan," Cameron replied. His tone was calm, neutral, professional. But there was no mistaking the shift of power. A guest stepped up to the counter at that moment, an older couple confused about their room keys. Nathan forced a quick nod and began assisting them. His voice trembled at first, but he steadied it, guiding them kindly, patiently, with none of the impatience or judgment Cameron had received. Because now Nathan knew better. But Cameron didn't interrupt, didn't correct, didn't embarrass. He just listened. When the couple walked away smiling, Cameron spoke quietly. "See," he said, "respect was always within your capacity." Nathan swallowed hard. "I didn't realize how I was coming across yesterday. I thought I was being professional, but—" His voice faltered. "I made assumptions, ones I should never have made." Cameron didn't nod, didn't soften. He simply met Nathan's eyes, steady, unblinking. "Assumptions are expensive," he said, "and they cost more than money." Nathan exhaled, shame visible, but also something else. Understanding. Cameron continued his tour through the resort, through housekeeping, kitchen operations, concierge services. Everywhere he went, employees straightened up. But his presence didn't intimidate. It guided. He thanked staff, asked about their workload, listened more than he spoke, and the staff noticed something. He wasn't here to replace people. He was here to improve everything, including them. By afternoon, a quiet shift had begun, not just in how the staff worked, but in how they saw themselves. The resort didn't feel like a place where they worked. It began to feel like a place they could take pride in. And at the center of that shift was the man who had been doubted, underestimated, dismissed at the counter without a second thought. The one who now held the keys to the entire future of the resort. Later that afternoon, the sun dipped low enough to cast soft gold light through the lobby windows, and the resort grew quieter. Guests were at the pool, the spa, or out exploring the city. It was the perfect time for private conversations, the kind that didn't need an audience. Cameron stood near the terrace doors, looking out at the ocean. The waves rolled steadily, the horizon a calm, unwavering line. Nathan approached slowly, each step careful, as if one wrong movement might shatter everything. "Mr. Reed," Nathan said, voice low but clear, "may I speak with you? Privately?" Cameron turned and nodded once. "Of course." They walked to a quieter seating area off to the side. Plush chairs, soft music, framed photos of the resort from decades past. Nathan sat only when Cameron did. His shoulders slumped in a way that didn't look like defeat, more like someone finally allowing themselves to feel the weight of a truth they had avoided. "I want to apologize," Nathan began. "No excuses, no hesitation. The way I treated you when you checked in, it wasn't professional, and it wasn't right. Cameron listened, his expression unreadable but not cold. Nathan swallowed. I told myself I was just being efficient, that I was following protocol. But the truth is, I made a judgment, one I had no right to make, and I need to own that. There it was. Not excuses, not self-defense, accountability. Cameron leaned back slightly. Do you know the part that bothered me? He asked. Nathan shook his head. You didn't even try to find the reservation, Cameron said. Your mind was made up before your hands touched the keyboard. That's the part that tells a person who they are. Nathan winced, but he didn't look away. I understand, he said quietly. I do? Cameron nodded slowly. Good. Because this resort, any resort, is only as strong as the respect it operates on. A building is just walls and paint. But hospitality, real hospitality, is a belief that every person who walks through those doors has value. He paused. And you get to choose, every day, whether you uphold that belief or break it. Nathan's voice cracked, not dramatic, just honest. I want to do better. I really do. Cameron studied him for a moment, not testing him, simply seeing him. I believe you, Cameron said finally. But improvement isn't a speech, it's a pattern. So here's what's going to happen. Nathan straightened, bracing, but not fearful now. Ready. You're going to assist me, Cameron continued, directly, for at least the next 2 weeks. Every department review, every staff survey, every guest interaction assessment, we'll do it together. You'll learn how to model the culture this place needs. Nathan blinked. You want me to work with you? If I didn't think you could grow, Cameron said calmly, I wouldn't waste the time. Something shifted in Nathan's face. Not relief, not happiness. Gratitude. The kind that comes when someone chooses to teach instead of punish. I won't take that for granted, Nathan said. Cameron nodded. Good. They stood. The conversation was done, not because there was nothing left to say, but because the work would now speak louder than words. As they walked back toward the lobby, a guest approached Nathan with a question about nearby dinner options. Nathan didn't rush, didn't force a smile. He looked the guest in the eyes, listened, and answered with clarity and warmth. Cameron watched, not evaluating now, just observing. Something real had shifted. Not just in the staff, not just in the resort, but in the culture that would shape its future. And for the first time since he arrived, Cameron allowed himself a quiet, knowing smile. The day the board arrived, the resort felt different, charged, like the air before a storm. Staff polished every surface twice. The kitchen ran like choreography. Even the ocean outside seemed calmer, as if waiting for what was about to unfold. Cameron dressed simply, the same way he had every day since arriving. No expensive watch, no designer suit. Authority didn't need decoration. It came from presence. And Cameron's presence was undeniable. The board members, 4 executives in tailored suits and muted confidence, were escorted into the private conference room overlooking the water. Elena, the general manager, stood at Cameron's side, poised but controlled. Nathan stood a step behind, holding the resort's performance reports. His posture was straighter now, not defensive, but steady, ready. The meeting began. One of the board directors, a gray-haired man with silver cufflinks, leaned back in his chair. We've reviewed the financials. Operating profit is stable but plateauing. What we want to know, Mr. Reed, is whether this property is worth integrating into the portfolio long-term. Cameron didn't rush his response. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the shoreline. When he spoke, his voice was calm but carried weight. This resort has everything it needs to be exceptional. The location, the architecture, the amenities. He turned back to them. But the foundation of hospitality isn't infrastructure. It's culture. A few brows lifted. Cameron continued. Culture determines whether guests leave feeling rested or dismissed. It determines whether staff show up just to earn a paycheck or to create something meaningful. He paused just long enough. And culture is shaped first by leadership. The board exchanged glances. This was no generic corporate presentation. Cameron spoke like a man who understood people, not just profit margins. Elena stepped forward next. She outlined the recent improvements: staff morale, guest feedback scores, operational efficiency and housekeeping, new training procedures, all implemented under Cameron's direction. But the numbers weren't the most compelling part. It was the tone of the staff when they spoke about their work now. Pride was returning. Then it was Nathan's turn. He wasn't used to speaking in front of executives. But he didn't shake. He didn't rush. He simply told the truth. In my role at the front desk, I used to think my job was efficiency, checking boxes, moving people along. But Mr. Reed showed me something I didn't see before. Hospitality isn't transaction. It's care. It's respect. He didn't just train us. He changed how we understand the work. He swallowed, then continued. And I needed that lesson more than I realized. The board watched him with unexpected interest. Authenticity was rare in these rooms. They recognized it. Cameron stepped back in. So our decision isn't just whether to acquire a resort, he said. It's whether we invest in a culture that sets a new standard for every property in our portfolio. Silence followed. Not uneasy, thoughtful. Finally, the chairwoman of the board closed her folder. The acquisition is approved. Elena exhaled, relief washing over her. But Cameron wasn't done. He turned slightly toward Nathan. And with this acquisition, we will be restructuring leadership positions to reflect the culture we want to build here. Nathan's pulse quickened. Everyone in the room could see it. Effective next month, Cameron said, voice even, confident, grounded. Nathan will be promoted to guest experience manager. He will oversee hospitality standards resort-wide. The board nodded their approval. Nathan blinked, stunned. Not because he hadn't earned it, but because he had. His voice came low, sincere. I won't let you down. Cameron smiled, not broad, not triumphant, just real. I know. The meeting ended. The board left. Elena shook Cameron's hand gratefully, and Nathan stood still for a moment, letting reality settle in, not as shock, but as purpose. Across the lobby, the late afternoon sunlight poured through the windows, warm and unwavering. Respect had rebuilt something here, and this time, it would last. The resort was quiet that evening, lit by the warm amber glow of sunset reflecting on the water. Guests dined on the terrace, soft laughter and silverware clinking blending into the hush of the waves. Inside the lobby, the bustle of the day had faded to a peaceful stillness. Cameron stood alone on the balcony of the presidential suite, hands resting on the railing as he watched the sky shift from gold to rose. The ocean had a way of reminding people of scale, how small moments could ripple into something larger. A soft knock sounded behind him. "Come in," Cameron said. The door opened and Nathan stepped inside. He didn't look nervous this time, not uncertain, not bracing, just thoughtful. He approached slowly, taking in the view. "Beautiful," he murmured. "It always was," Cameron replied. "Some things just need to be seen differently to be appreciated." Nathan let those words settle before speaking. "I wanted to ask something, if it's all right." Cameron turned toward him. "Ask." "Why this resort?" Nathan said. "You could have chosen any property, any city. Why here? Why us?" Cameron's eyes drifted back to the water, and his voice, when it came, carried history. "When I was a kid," he began, "my mother worked as a housekeeper. Not here, but a resort just like this one. She worked long hours cleaning rooms for guests who never learned her name. She used to bring me with her on slow days and let me wait in the staff lounge with a book." Nathan listened still. "One day," Cameron continued, "we passed the lobby. I must have been 9. I stopped to look at the ocean through the glass just like this." He smiled faintly, remembering. "And one of the concierges walked over. He looked at me the way you looked at me the day I checked in. As if I didn't belong. As if I was standing someplace I needed permission to be." Nathan's breath caught, not with guilt now, but with recognition. "My mother apologized to him," Cameron said quietly. "For me. For a child seeing the ocean." The lobby seemed to echo the memory. That was the first day I understood what power looks like, and what dignity looks like when someone tries to strip it away. Cameron turned fully to Nathan now. Not angry, not wounded, just clear. And this place matters to me because I want to make sure no one, guest or staff, ever feels they have to justify existing in the space where they are standing. Nathan swallowed hard. His voice came rough, raw. That's important. It is, Cameron agreed gently. And now, it's your work too. Nathan nodded, slow, deliberate, accepting. I won't forget that. A quiet passed between them. Not heavy now, but full. The kind of quiet that happens when two people finally understand each other. Cameron looked back at the horizon. Violet now, the first stars flickering awake. This resort has always been beautiful, he said, but now it has a chance to be extraordinary. Nathan followed his gaze. Because of you. Cameron shook his head with the smallest smile. Because of all of us. There was no grand applause, no dramatic spotlight. Just two men standing in the last light of the day. One who had learned, one who had healed, and both who had changed something larger than themselves. And somewhere down below, the lobby continued to welcome guests, each one stepping through doors built now not of marble and glass, but of respect.